The fate of the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua, now lies in the hands of the Senate. In fact, Rigathi Gachagua only needs the support of 17 sober and mature senators to save his neck from the hangman's noose. And as we wait for the drama and the final verdict from the Senate, many political experts are asking and they're wondering silently and loudly, what exactly led to the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua? What really vexed his boss that he engineered the ouster of his deputy? Because many still recall that the bad blood between a president and his deputy did not begin in this regime. In the previous regime, Uhuru Kenyatta, who was the president then, fell out with his deputy. And there were deep secrets, and towards the 2022 general election, it was obvious because they started throwing words to each other. But Uhuru never once attempted to impeach William Samoei Ruto. Some say that maybe William had taken MPs from Mount Kenya and therefore he could not be impeached. But even with the very few that Uhuru still had, Uhuru was the president, he could buy that parliament, and with the support of Raila, because they had a handshake, he would have attempted to impeach Rigathi Gachagua. But he never did. And therefore, it's begging this question, why would William Ruto, facing the very, very troubles that he gave his boss, would want to condemn Rigathi Gachagua to a civilian? Because if the Senate and the courts decide that Rigathi Gachagua is going to be impeached, then Rigathi could even end up not as a civilian, but as a prisoner. He could end in jail. Several theories have come up that maybe he wanted to galvanize the support of Mount Kenya, and William Ruto did not want this because William Ruto wanted to still remain like a Mount Kenya kingpin. He wanted to go there without passing through anyone. But it is now turning out that the main reason why William Ruto and Rigathi Gachagua fell out is because William Ruto is a dictator. And this dictatorship went even into the cabinet, so that whatever William Ruto says, whatever he wants in cabinet, he wanted it to be the alpha and omega. No wonder the secretary to the cabinet, Nancy Wanjau or Mercy Wanjau, is one of the witnesses that is going to testify against Rigathi Gachagua, because she's going to highlight how several decisions were made in cabinet, and they said that Rigathi Gachagua supported, but later, in fact, it is being said that he was opposing them even at the cabinet level, or coming out in the public to tell secrets that, they want to demolish houses, I'm not part of it. They are kidnapping people, I'm not part of it. So Wanjau Mercy is going to tell Kenyans that as the cabinet, to the secretary, I was taking minutes and we had agreed, but Rigathi Gachagua later negated the agreement. Number two, Sakaja is also part of it. Sakaja will highlight how they had agreed that hawkers, maybe there was a decision in the cabinet that hawkers were to be removed from CBD to a market in Kangundo Road, but Rigathi opposed or blocked the manner in which he was doing. He was interfering with the running of Nairobi affairs. I want you to watch this video where this fellow Kenyan is explaining just how this could have led to the fallout between the president and his deputy.
My learned friend is arguing from a point of view of a guy called Dworkin and Hart, legal professors who spoke about the norms of legality and the legal structures. A learned friend should not put himself down. He's quite learned by arguing this point, and I'm quite savvy to that point. But the issue that we have here is whether or not this country is heading to an autocracy or whether or not we are going to keep our constitution and head towards a more substantive democracy.
Do you think we're heading the autocratic way?
I think what has happened, I just talked about something called the totalitarian mindset. The president owns the National Assembly. He owns the judiciary. He has appointed cabinet members who, when he walks in, look down. You know, cabinet is supposed to be a debate center where people debate issues. The president is now an autocrat, not only by name, but by what he's doing. And for him to survive beyond this, because he knows that the people are waiting for him in 2027, he has to do something very dramatic. And what is that dramatic? As to the entrance into the dramatized persona, Israel Odinga, to give him legitimacy over what he intends to do. I've argued before that he is going to bring the BBI. He's going to change the constitution. This is the first act in changing the constitution through the legislature. You see, if you're going to change the structures of the constitution, you need to go to a referendum. But the National Assembly is going to be bought, lock, stock, and barrel. And they're going to go to the Chief Justice, and the Supreme Court will say they have every right, they have been elected. Then what are the people left with?
The power of the vote.
But are we going to get that vote? You see, I'm questioning things about that's coming because I can see the playbook now. Now, the problem with Mr. Ruto, and I've said that he's a one-term president, he will not bring people together, and he's going to go in 2027. But he's going to go kicking and screaming, in my view, because his mind is in the past. He has been brought up in an authoritarian terrain, and therefore everything that he knows is, me, myself, and I. And that doesn't work in the society that we're in now. And I am very worried about the future of our country because he has failed politically. Everybody sees that. The economy has failed. The areas of culture, we don't even exist. He is attacking the Gen Zs as looters and people who want to burn down the country, and in the international press. Thuggishness and disappearance is continuing. These are just facts. This is not something that I'm talking about. It's not a theory. So there's a wholesale capture of the president's attempt to topple the very idea of our constitutional government. And I think that we have to be very careful about the future of this country, because if that happens, as my learned friend on the left here will tell you in 2 seconds, that's going to cause a civil war.
Okay. Yes, Senator.
Rigathi was obviously opposed to some of these cabinet resolutions because they were touching at the nerves of Mount Kenya. You remember when Sakaja wanted to remove the long-distance vehicles from the CBD in Nairobi, the Nairobi CBD, to somewhere in Green Park. Rigathi said, no, those businessmen mostly come from Mount Kenya, and I will not allow my people to be intimidated. When the hawkers were to be taken to Kangundo Road, he said, no, those are my people. When houses were to be demolished after the raging floods, you remember, Rigathi said, I'm not part of it. Yet William Ruto had engaged him and charged him to be in charge of the Nairobi River. William Ruto knew what he was doing. And he realized that this was pitting him against his own people. And he could not accept because he felt some of these things were against his will and they were going against his people. In fact, had Gachagua start shouting about these issues, and especially if the issues were touching on the whole nation, people would have been solely behind him. But you see, he's now suffering because most of the issues that brought him being at loggerheads with his boss were touching on his people. We never saw him going, expanding his territory to fight for the affairs of many other people. That is why some people have left him with this fight to fight it alone. The only saving grace for him is that many people are saying, Kufa dereva, Kufa Makanga. They're saying the Makanga and the dereva are both bad, and therefore there is no reason why one should remain. In fact, the people who are fighting for Rigathi are not saying that he's good. They're saying that Rigathi Gachagua should not be impeached because he's good. No, that Rigathi should not be impeached alone because they are both bad. But if you listen to the assertion from that fellow, he's saying William Ruto wants a cabinet where when he gets in, people bow down. It is a yes sir thing. It is the alpha and omega thing. You don't question. And who am I to doubt? We have seen how he has captured the institutions, like that fellow says. our parliament is never independent. They have been pocketed. They are dancing to his tune. In fact, if you look at the Finance Bill 2023 and Finance Bill 2024, it took the generosity and courage of the Gen Zs to go to the street to stop the Finance Bill 2024. But with the entry, now they are in good terms with the opposition. This might come back. And the reason why personally I felt that maybe Rigathi should be there, but he should now start focusing on all the issues that are bedeviling Kenyans, is because we do not have an opposition. Trust me. So Rigathi Gachagua becomes the eye of the people. Like I said, he should now start focusing on issues that are bedeviling Kenyans, like abductions. And in fact, the reason why he's talking about the abductions, when Gen Zs went to the street, many of these people were killed, like they say that in Githurai, Zimmerman, the place where the population of Mount Kenya, of course, they are largely populated there. And this is why he got touched. When Azimio went to the street, he never spoke so much about the abductions and the killing. He was part and parcel of it. And so it itched him, it got into his heart that most of the cabinet resolutions were touching on his people. I want Rigathi Gachagua not to be impeached. I want him to be part of that government so that he starts not only focusing on the issues of Mount Kenya, but he should be talking about Adani and all this and saying, no, we cannot accept this. Because if Rigathi Gachagua goes, then the next deputy president that is going to be appointed is going to be intimidated. Number one, he's going to be told, you are here not because of your votes. You are here because you've been appointed. You are at the mercy of the president. And what does it mean? That he will not raise his voice, either politely or loudly. He will have to lie low because that he will not have the prestige of a man who went to the ballot and they were appointed, they were elected together. What does it mean again? It means that we are going to be finished because those who are supposed to be talking about the rot in the society are now part and parcel of that rot. So we needed someone like Rigathi Gachagua. The dictatorship will continue because at least Rigathi Gachagua was, even if it only touched on his people, but he was highlighting it. Very soon the constitution will be changed, and I hope that Raila will stand firm, because if there is something that Raila does not want to hear, is anything that touches on the mutilation of the constitution. That, if you touch, I believe, even if it is a handshake or a coalition government, that might end. I still believe that is the same Raila I knew, because I know you can take away everything from Raila. But if you touch on mutilation of the constitution, that will be the end. And I hope he still has, because if he will be quiet, then we might have the extension of the presidential term. The cabinet will be coming with very many drastic and archaic resolutions. They will be supported by parliament. They will be supported by the judiciary. And when the sentiments came out, my fear goes for and sympathy goes for Rigathi Gachagua, because we are crossing our fingers that at the Senate he can be saved. But if it passes the Senate, I don't think whether he will get that justice in parliament. I just in the judiciary, in the courts. I don't know, because the kind of state capture that we have, all the independent institutions are in the box of the executive. I don't know whether we can find a Senate that might rise up after, scrutinizing the evidence before them and say, we stop this. I don't know whether we have judges who can still rise beyond the intimidation and say, the charges that have been brought before us do not meet the threshold of impeaching a deputy president. We need to look beyond Ruto and Gachagua and look at the sacred offices so that we protect our nation. The dictatorship could have been part and parcel of the disagreement, because Rigathi could not agree. He came out and negated those. He has said that I cannot support things like abductions. And so, ladies and gentlemen, We are waiting for justice. But if we don't have anyone who can tell the king that you are naked, if we don't have someone who will speak for us, in fact, these days, do you see anyone telling us about the dossier? Like Raila used to tell us the G2G oil deal. Raila used to tell us about the exam dossier. We are just there. No one is there to tell us. And I'm not saying that Raila was born to be an opposition. I personally believe from where I sit that his votes were rigged. The only thing I don't understand is why he went to dine with the election thieves. He told us himself, he went to the streets and people were killed. I don't understand how the pain of the blood of the victims of Azimio protest, we no longer talk about it. How he decided to forget about that and life moved on just because we wanted to sacrifice Gachagua. I don't understand, but that is the nature of our politics, and sometimes you never know until you speak to Raila himself, and therefore I don't want to judge him, but I don't understand. The next deputy president is going to face very many challenges.